Story 1. Artisanal repair, such as leather repair, shoe repair, and clothing repair. There is a combination of fewer young people learning the skill or taking over businesses, along with the proliferation of fast fashion. This trend is similar to what happened with small electronics repair previously. Additionally, rising commercial rents are a significant challenge for many small businesses. Story 2. Ironically, I heard casket sales were slowing because of innovations in cremation and other burial services, such as being buried in a tree. Story 3. In Korea, the private education industry is a multi-billion-dollar sector. The birth rate is very low. Although it is starting to reverse slowly, it is still far from sustaining the population. I try to keep track of student data in my area. Over 5 years, I saw enrollment drop to just one new student last year at the local public school. I live in a city with about 1.4 million people. There are enclaves of families trying to gather in certain areas so their children can grow up with other kids. However, many areas are aging, causing massive drops in enrollment from kindergarten to university levels. Families will literally relocate so their child can attend a school in an area with more families and functioning schools. Story 4. Customer service. You thought getting a human on the phone was difficult in 2025? By 2035, agentic artificial intelligence will ensure that no human customer service exists. Story 5. After 25 years in the Hollywood film industry, I have only worked about 2 months in the past 2.5 years. Story 6. Television and film writing. I had a 20-year career that has essentially ended, and I am far from the only one. The studios and streaming services are producing fewer shows, which have fewer seasons and fewer episodes. It used to be an actual career. Now it is a hobby for the wealthy. Story 7. In 10 to 20 years, there will be a teacher shortage. Unless you come from a wealthy background, you are unlikely to pay $80,000 for college only to earn $50,000 a year teaching children. Story 8. Cable television. Who is still paying $80 a month to scroll past 900 channels of nothing? It is like a blockbuster that refuses to believe the internet happened. Every year, prices increase, and companies act surprised when more people leave. It is the Sears of entertainment. Story 9. Independent pharmacies face insurance reimbursements that are regularly at a negative margin, causing them to dispense drugs at a lower cost than their purchase price. Independent pharmacies will be the first to go out of business, but if pharmacy benefit manager reform does not happen soon, pharmacy as we know it will be gone within 15 years at the latest. Story 10. Rigging refers to the splicing and making of large cables. There are not many skilled riggers left in my area. Story 11. Farming is changing, not just the industry itself but also the number of people involved. Farms and equipment have grown significantly larger. Small farming towns are disappearing quickly. Story 12. Auto racing. Racetracks are closing all over the country. The pressure is coming from all sides. There are far fewer hobby racers than before as the raw material decreases and racing becomes more expensive even in the entry-level classes. Land is becoming more valuable, and as housing developments expand, new homeowners complain about noise and traffic. Spectator turnout is lower as racing and motorsports are less popular overall. Top-tier racing will probably continue for the foreseeable future, but it is declining at the grassroots level. Story 13. Affordable restaurants are not for the wealthy, non-chain, and honest sit-down establishments. Diners will disappear completely in 20 years. Story 14. Printing business. My wife is an accountant. She moved from one company where she literally read from paper receipts to reading electronic receipts, and now she works at a paperless accounting firm. Now even contracts are signed electronically. Edit. Sorry everyone for drawing an exaggerated conclusion from a single experience. Clearly, printing is still alive and far from dying. Story 15. Publishing is facing challenges, not because self-publishing is replacing traditional publishing, but because it shares many of the same problems. The degradation of platforms is making book discovery nearly impossible. Self-publishers are struggling. Do-it-yourself book marketing is a significant challenge and often results in financial loss for most people. Traditional publishers also lack effective strategies because the internet is a hostile environment. There are probably more great writers than ever, and readers almost certainly want to find them, but the systems that connect them are failing. The irony is that what will probably save us is artificial intelligence, but not generative artificial intelligence. Generative artificial intelligence seems to be a net negative for the world, especially the arts. We need full-text recommendation systems to replace social proof-based ones that are extremely easy to manipulate. Story 16. AAA games. Gaming is not dying, but the large game companies are often unable to make a profit because games have excessively large budgets and cannot meet unrealistic sales projections. They are trying to reduce losses with microtransactions, but most players dislike them and are starting to push back. There is no amount of money that will satisfy investors. Eventually, the larger games and bigger budget model will fail. Story 17. Maybe an uncommon answer. Higher education is not dying but will, and needs to, be greatly transformed in the next era. Edit. I woke up surprised by the number of upvotes. I will share some of my thoughts for exchange. Higher education is not an essential need. When an industry fulfills essential needs, it does not die. Do not get me wrong, learning is essential for humans, and I think primary and secondary education are essential for the general public, but higher education is not. Nor is it helpful in practical aspects, like imparting the knowledge we need in daily life, such as cooking, cycling, and even thinking, or making us more competent in our jobs. I will explain more later. The reason for its continued existence is the socially constructed credential system. In other words, employers, strangers, or other social institutions still use that one piece of paper as an indicator of one's competency. There are indeed correlations, but first, it is correlation rather than causation. Second, the linkage has become weaker and weaker. Once the credential system collapses, fewer people will follow this track. We have already seen signs of this now. Also, there are many alternatives nowadays to fulfill learning and practical needs. The information era demolishes the moat of the university. Resources of knowledge are widespread. Not to mention the cost of this route compared to others. So, although it may not happen in a short period, higher education needs to be reformed to find its value in the market. Edit 2. Please note that being against the current higher education system does not equal being against intellectualism. It can even be the opposite. Story 18. Retail pharmacy is increasingly dominated by CVS, which survives largely due to its involvement in the insurance sector. Pharmacy benefit managers have lobbied, cornered, and exploited pharmacies for decades, continually taking a larger share of profits and causing pharmacies to operate at a loss. There is much more to the issue, but standalone pharmacies, such as Rite Aid, are likely to collapse over time. Source: I am a pharmacist. Story 19. Recruiting is becoming much more automated every year. When hiring slows down, recruiters are often let go. I also had a phone interview with a virtual artificial intelligence assistant recently and can see this becoming more common in the future. Story 20. Trucking. Over the next 10 years, more trucks will be self-driving. PepsiCo is already using them for short-haul trips in Southern California. There is too much money to be made. Story 21. Pretty much everything. Large corporations are either taking over or pushing out small businesses. They are too focused on profit. It is toxic. Story 22. As of now, artists doing commissions are the first victims of artificial intelligence. Voice acting was next, but the Screen Actors Guild American Federation of Television and Radio Artists strike succeeded. Story 23. Gauge repair and calibration. Although expensive machinery still has overhaul shops specialized for this work, the most commonly used gauges can be purchased online for less than the cost of repair. Appliance repair has also declined significantly, as repair shops are no longer as common as they used to be. Story 24. Truck driving. Certain types of companies and drivers are already facing intense pressure from low prices, especially drayage operators who make quick trips from a port to a nearby warehouse. Self-driving technology is not yet fully developed, but early results indicate that autonomous vehicles might be safer than human drivers. One challenge is that self-driving vehicles must compensate for the lack of safety awareness among human drivers. Wages have decreased, demands continue to increase, and driver monitoring is intense. Consider the challenges before encouraging a career in truck driving. Story 25: Marketing. Quietly and in the background, experienced senior marketers and digital marketers are being made redundant, replaced by junior staff earning under £30,000 with a phone camera, Canva, and chat generative pre-trained transformer. The significant drop in campaign quality is not causing a proportional drop in sales or performance, so boards are not bothering to replace them. Story 26. Wedding dress and tuxedo stores around my town have closed down, or always have only one or two customers. More people are single than ever, and with the economy worsening every day and no increase in wages, people are finding fewer reasons to splurge on their weddings. Story 27. Coming from a pastor, church attendance is declining. Local congregations are unaware or unqualified to meet community needs. They are not ashamed to vocalize political preferences without regard for those who suffer and are too prideful to pass the baton to the next generation. Story 28. Almost all printed media, including newspapers, book publishing, and magazines, are moving to digital formats. The companies that switched to digital early are performing the best right now. Story 29. What I experienced when I immigrated a decade ago versus now is vastly different. Back then, pushy salespeople, dishonest, slimy vibe overall. Now, just helped my dad get an electric vehicle. 1. Here it is, take it or leave it. 2. Whatever advantage they had in fudging numbers is gone with access to artificial intelligence on mobile devices. My dad was against electric vehicles for his main car and had difficulty understanding what chat generative pre-trained transformer does. This car buying experience helped clear it up, especially when I showed him how to use thinking mode. 3. They even give up when I ask them to price match with CarMax for my trade-in. Story 30. Any type of ownership. Want to add a movie to your collection? You can only buy it and have it stored on the subscription platform servers. Want to buy a car? Soon you will only be buying the physical car, but to make it function, you have to pay for subscriptions like ignition, heating, and acceleration. Want to buy household appliances? To use them, you have to pay a subscription. Want to buy a house? Soon you can only rent, and you will pay more than current homeowners pay in monthly mortgages. Water? No longer a publicly subsidized commodity. You will have to pay region-locked monopolies for access to it. We are being microtransactioned to hell. Books and music, at least for now, are thriving in physical media where people can still own them. Story 31. Shopping malls. Many are closing everywhere. I heard that a few are being converted into mini housing communities for homeless or low-income individuals because no one can afford a real home anymore. Story 32. Photographers and artists. People really like their artificial intelligence, and we never allowed their models to train on our work. However, we have moved on from that. Story 33. Private schools. I work in a private school, and every year since COVID-19, our numbers have declined. When people ask why in meetings, I point out that as a teacher, I cannot afford to have a child attend anywhere but a free school. This makes everyone a little uncomfortable, and then they agree it must be marketing's fault. The clock is ticking. Story 34. The music industry. Well, I guess it is not dying per se, but music as we know it is dying for sure and has been dead for quite a while. Every top 100 hit is written and produced by the same few people. There are no real bands or artists in the spotlight anymore. It is just people who have the best marketing teams with the most money so that they can sing a few lines, which someone else wrote, into a microphone somewhat decently and perform in a multimillion-dollar music video filled with computer-generated imagery, then call themselves artists. I find it disgusting personally. Story 35. Higher education, more specifically traditional college. People are noticing the time, effort, and money spent on the degree may not be worth it. There is an enrollment decline after the pandemic that is not slowing down. Story 36. Stereo equipment. My friend works at a high-fidelity shop in Seattle. He said his clientele is aging, and young people only buy Bluetooth devices. He mentioned the vinyl revival is real, but about 50% of people who buy vinyl records do not own a turntable. He believes the stereo industry will mostly disappear within 20 years. I do not know if this is true, but I have not owned stereo equipment since I was around 20 years old. Story 37. Print journalism feels like it is fading fast, and most people will not notice until it is completely gone. Story 38. Everything that can be done sitting in front of a screen at home. Buy things on Amazon. Order meals from DoorDash. Watch movies on Netflix. See the world and interact with other human beings through various forms of social media. We used to have to go outside to do all these things. Now it is merely optional, and many people prefer the convenience of home. Welcome to the future. Story 39. Mine Diamond Industry. I never thought I would be alive to see the destruction of De Beers. Good riddance. Story 40. Movie stardom. Big names like Robert De Niro and Leonardo DiCaprio are not really relevant anymore. There are too many influencers and everyone is famous now. Story 41. The fashion industry, due to fast fashion, a race to the bottom, and global standardization of clothing and fashion choices, saw the diversity and natural beauty of regional styles fall out of favor starting in the 1990s and becoming apparent in the 2000s. If you take someone from 2005 and bring them to 2025 wearing the same clothes, they would look like anyone we see in our neighborhood today. We no longer have the rich styles and diversity that existed from the dawn of the Bronze Age to the 2000s. The vast majority of people dress like Americans and lack the sense of fashion or cultural pride that once existed. Now it is fast fashion from Shein, Walmart, Target, Aeropostale, Zara, and off-brand clothing. Where once you could tell someone's decade and region, now we all wear clothes that barely change from decade to decade. Story 42. Screen printing is evolving significantly. It is not about t-shirts or custom apparel anymore. There are major advancements in how logos are applied to apparel. Specifically, traditional screen printing is declining. In 5 years, only very small or very large operations will remain. Medium-sized printing shops are likely to go out of business. Story 43. One industry that is slowly declining is customer service. A lot of artificial intelligence software has already been replacing live customer support representatives, ranging from simple number pressing replacing phone operators to more complex bots that can chat with you online on company websites. Still, even if many people have already lost their jobs, I do not believe this industry will completely disappear because some nuanced issues will truly require a human to assist another human, even if some companies do their best to minimize this. Story 44. Art and animation. Multiple disciplines across various media and many different industries at various levels, from intern to supervisor or director. Eventually, there will be no creativity. There will be no art, no amusement, no sense of joy or wonder. Just regurgitated garbage done at the whim of greed and deceit. Story 45. Art is being taken over by artificial intelligence. Many bands, rappers, and musicians are using artificial intelligence to create their cover art, videos, and, more recently, songs. Story 46. Internet is already dead. Artificial intelligence is just the final step to complete that. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.